Abbey Gardens, to eat alone or endure silence if Charlie was in one of his moods. She had given up so much to be with him, but he had changed. Gone was the fun-loving man about town. He had been replaced by a surlier version, particularly when they were alone. Shortage of money and no heir were the predominant themes of their arguments in the early days. At first, Lucy had stood her ground. Charlie had known well the risk of no dowry if they eloped. A letter from her father's solicitor soon after they settled in London had confirmed it. As for her childless state, she had seen several doctors, but none could give her a reason. Encouraged by his parents, Charlie had insisted the blame had to lie with her. After several miscarriages, it was easier to agree. If she still daydreamed of being a mother, she kept it to herself. Over time, they had fallen into a routine of avoidance. Love had flown long ago, and with no money of her own and estranged from her family, Lucy had no choice but to stay. Burnt bridges and all of that, she could almost hear her mother sneer. Her only hope was Charlie would turn back to their marriage and they might salvage something. In the meantime, the future stretched out before her as bleak as a Yorkshire moor in midwinter. But it wasn't in Lucy's nature to mope. She would speak to Charlie on his return from Scotland and try to explain how she felt. If only they could afford a little holiday, she was convinced some time spent together might reignite the spark. They had honeymooned in Italy, and she had adored the country and the climate. Not that it had to be somewhere foreign. She'd happily settle for Brighton or Lyme Regis. But she couldn't help herself. Soon she was daydreaming of the Piazza of Rome, Siena and Florence. She could almost feel the warmth of the sun on her skin. The sight of a police constable walking down the road brought Lucy back to everyday life. As he drew closer, she realised the policeman was looking for a particular house. Could scandal lurk behind one of her neighbour's doors? How intriguing. But to her astonishment, he stopped at her gate, consulted a card he pulled from the pocket of his greatcoat, and turned in. Lucy scooted back to her seat. What could he possibly want? Seconds later, the sound of the bell echoed through the house, and she heard the maid's distinctive step in the hallway. The door opened, and Mary's head peeped in. Her colour was high, and her blonde curls were escaping her cap. Lucy recognised the warning signs. A domestic situation was developing. Only that morning she had heard cook complaining to Mary she was run off her feet. Matters below stairs were not happy, and she could not blame the servants for being aggrieved. Mary had been hired as her lady's maid, but now had to combine those duties with parlour-maid too. The constant lack of money meant they were often short-staffed, but the consequences were always hers to deal with. Like most men, Charlie had a talent for avoiding any hint of domestic trouble. "Are you at home at all, Mum?" the maid asked, her Dublin accent more pronounced than usual. "No. Send whoever it is away. That's a good girl." Picking up her book, Lucy tried to concentrate, but found her attention focused on the murmur of voices out in the hallway. Mary came in again, this time her face as white as her apron. "Well? I'm fair sorry, Mum. But it's the police, and he says it's urgent." She took a step closer and lowered her voice. "There's no budging him. Awful serious he is. Insists on seeing you, Mum." "Policeman? Mary, please." The maid blushed and Lucy regretted the reprimand. "Did he tell you what he wants?" she asked in a gentler tone. "Yes. It's about the master, Mum. I think you need to speak to him." Lucy frowned. She could think of no reason for Charlie to be involved with the police. It must be serious, for Mary was usually robust in disposing of unwanted visitors. "Very well, Mary. Show him in." Moments later, Mary ushered a burly policeman into the room. "Constable Enright, Mum." "Come in, Constable. What can I do for you?" Lucy asked, looking up at the figure, whose tall form now dominated her drawing room. Much to her